Who's sitting behind me? That whole time with my back to you, I have really good hearing, so I hear every single conversation. I do, and I try to keep playing, but I'm like, who's talking about that? It's great to see you. Let's stand and sing a nice ecstatic song together. Out of the Till Hymn Book, we're going to sing 10:15, I Know I Can. If you're joining us online, there's a lyric sheet that you can link to. The lyrics will be posted up here on the board. And let's sing.
Let's sing.
Yeah, we need to. Thank you for singing.
Isn't it great to start today singing? Good morning. Welcome to the Olympia Unitarian Universalist Congregation. Thank you for joining us this morning. We are so glad that you're here. My name is Kurt Hill. I identify with he, him pronouns. I'm a member of the worship arts team. I'm a tall, Caucasian, aging guy with disappearing hair and a gray beard. Leading worship with me this morning is our minister, the Reverend Mary Gear. Online is Reverend Sara Lewis, our director of community and faith development. She's out there somewhere. There she is. Here she is. Troy Fisher, our music director, the OUU. Yay, Troy! The OUUC choir, of which I'm grateful to be part of. Our community envisions an interconnected world that is healthy, loving, and just. We commit to live out our mission to empower and embrace, bridge and become, welcome and wonder. We are a diverse people of varied ethnic backgrounds, social expressions, and economic ways, and in all the ways we understand ourselves and in whom we love. We are different and we are united as one human family. We are a faith community that believes diversity is an immeasurable contribution and that we're enriched by the gifts that each of us bring. We affirm that we are all growing and evolving, and that we do in fact learn from one another. Thank you for your presence. However you have arrived here, we're so glad that you're here. A few things to know about the service today, with the hope that it will have you all feel welcome. We are streaming on Zoom and YouTube, and the service is being recorded. You can see the sometimes creative subtitles on the screen or on Zoom if you're online. We are a multi-generational community that welcomes people of all ages in the sanctuary. There's also nursery care and a story time program in the classroom wing, and we have, being used right now as I speak, we have comfy chairs and activities for your hands to have everyone feel welcome and most comfortable. We are grateful for the many hands that make service happen this morning, visible and less than visible. Thank you to all who contribute in so many ways. After the service, everyone will have a chance to discuss reflection questions offered by Reverend Sara. If you're online, please go to a virtual breakout room where you'll have the chance to discuss those reflection questions. Or if you're online, please feel free to stay in the Commons to discuss those reflection questions as you enjoy coffee and community. Today at 12:15, please join us here in the sanctuary or in the main Zoom room at 12:15 for a forum responding to hard things with both Reverend Mary and Reverend Sara. Let's see, the new UUC class continues today at 2 p.m. Reverend Mary will be joined by a few congregants to talk about how we take care of each other in our community of care. Everyone is welcome. You can find the link on the website or contact the OUUC office. If you're interested in gathering with others from OUUC to share food and fellowship in homes, now is your chance. There are just a few cottage meetings left in February, so if you've been intending to join one, please sign up. And I can tell you, Kirsten and I hosted one. It was wonderful. Getting together, enjoying food, and being in community was just a really, really delightful time. So if you haven't been to one, I highly encourage you go to one. There are many things happening at OUUC. Check out the Tuesday electronic update, not upsite, the update or website for the most up-to-date information. Now let us open our hearts and minds as we prepare for worship. It is good to be together. This morning, we join Unitarian Universalist congregations around the world in lighting a chalice, the symbol of our faith tradition, with the words of I'm getting a lot of things wrong this morning. With the words of Lisa Garcia Sampson. In these wild, historic, and uncertain times, we gather to remember who we are, who we belong to, and what we are called to do. As we light this chalice, I'm getting there. We kindle the spirit of the Great Turning, the movement for justice alive in the nation today. May we feel it in our bones, and in the stillness of this hour, may we sense it calling us home.
Good morning. I'm Reverend Sara. I use she, her pronouns. I'm joining you from my home because I am the latest victim of the bug going around. I'm a middle-aged white woman with dark brown curly hair, today wearing a dark teal shirt and a yellow side with love stole. And you can see behind me a quilted chalice hanging, blue walls, and a poster with dancers on it. Our opening words are offered by Kara Fortner. Comfort us in our complicated grief. O movement that strives for a loving way. Remind us of our shared humanity and that we are united with all other living beings on this precious planet, on the edge of a galaxy among millions of galaxies. Empower us to love our neighbors and those who curse us. Open our hearts to the healing we need. Open our country's hearts to the healing we need. Open our enemies' hearts to the healing they need. May we be more than our worst thoughts. May we be the radical love we proclaim we are. May we know that love can heal us, all of us, if we act with compassion, if we offer grace. O movement towards love, work through us for a world where the least is not kept down so others may trample on them, where violence is not celebrated and perpetuated through hatred and division. Please, dear God of many names, hear this prayer, work in our hearts, be on our lips, and in our actions. May we be in your loving movement always. Come, let us worship together.
I invite you to rise again in body and our spirit, and let's sing out of the Teal hymn book, hymn number 1068, Carolyn McDade's beautiful Rising Green.
That I have for you today is based on a book by D.B. Johnson. There's a whole series of these books about Henry David Thoreau and his many adventures as he's depicted as a bear. So one spring day, Henry decided to build a cabin. He borrowed an axe and cut down 12 trees. And then he cut the logs into square beams and notched the beams. And in April, his friend Emerson came and helped raise the beams. Emerson said, "Henry, your cabin looks too small to eat in." And Henry replied, "It's bigger than it looks." And he led his friend to a garden that he had planted behind the cabin. "When it's finished, this will be my dining room," said Henry. In May, Henry bought an old shed and took it apart. And his friend Alcott arrived as he was finishing putting the roof on his cabin. Alcott said, "Henry, your cabin looks too dark to read in." So Henry led him to a sunny spot beside the cabin. "When it's finished, this will be my library," said Henry. In June, Henry was putting a door and some used windows on the cabin. He also had bought used shingles for the roof and walls, and he was nailing the shingles on when Miss Lydia peeked in. "Henry, your cabin looks too small to dance in." Henry led her to the path down to the pond. "When it's finished, this will be the ballroom and the grand stairway." On the 4th of July, Henry moved into his cabin. He ate beans in his dining room, he read in his library, and he danced down the grand stairway to the pond. Then it started to rain, so Henry ran back inside his cabin. "It's bigger than it looks," said Henry. "This is just the room that I use when it rains." Thus ends our story.
Each Sunday, we engage in the spiritual practices of generosity and gratitude by joining together in service of our community and to something greater than ourselves. This is an opportunity to express our gratitudes for the gifts that life has given us, for the network of relationships in which we live, and the presence of this community. We each have the power to share, and when we combine our gifts to create an offering together, we're able to do more than any of us can do alone. If you're new or visiting us for the first or second time, you're our guest, and we don't expect you to contribute. However, if you are motivated to be part of our offering, what you share is accepted with gratitude. The offering here collected does two things. Half helps support the ongoing work of the congregations, which is also supported by your regular pledges. The other half of our offering goes to charity. Most is shared with an organization that serves our community in harmony with our Unitarian Universalist values, and a small portion goes to the OUUC Ministers Benevolence Fund to support the more urgent needs of our community. Our Share the Plate organization for February is Homes First. This is what they share about their organization.
Hello and good morning, Olympia UU congregation. Christine here, Development Manager with Homes First. Since 1990, Homes First has provided over 5,000 community members who are very low and extremely low income with safe, healthy, stable, and affordable rental homes. But we're more than just a housing provider. We are a bridge to hope and stability for families and individuals in our community who are struggling. Our mission is simple yet vital: to create and maintain safe, healthy, and affordable rental homes for those who need them most. We envision vibrant communities where everyone has a home they can afford. What makes Homes First unique? No other organization in Thurston County does what we do. We provide dignified, long-term rental homes and treat our residents with respect and equity. Our strength lies in our partnerships. We work alongside local social service organizations to ensure our tenants are supported the way they need. Today, your attention and support will make all the difference. Here's how you can get involved. You can help us expand access to affordable housing in the South Sound by making a donation today, signing up to volunteer, or becoming an ambassador to help spread awareness about Homes First with your networks, both online and in the community. Together, we can ensure that everyone in our community has a safe place to call home. Thank you.
We offer our thanks to all who give, including those who give to the offering electronically. You can find out more about that in the order of service or on the OUUC website. May the offering now be generously given as it is gratefully received.
Thank you so much for your generosity in all the ways you share your many gifts. We gather together this morning doing what our ancestors have always done. We gather in times of worry and fear and in times of celebration and joy. We come into community together bringing all that is in our hearts and on our minds. So let's open our hearts to the complexity of life as we place stones in the water of community. You will hear a drumbeat. I invite you to let its resonance into your body. It's the heartbeat of life, the heartbeat of our community. In this moment, I invite you to take a deep breath in and out. Feel the air as it enters and leaves your body, nourishing each one of your cells. Feel the earth, this Mother Earth, solid beneath us. Feel the warmth of community in all the ways we gather. This is the first day of Black History Month. In this time, it seems especially important to say that out loud as many times as we can. No matter what is erased in the national parks and museums, we know this history. The history that has been suppressed is out there among us. We know and we cannot unknow what is true. We will keep knowing. We honor the diversity among us and the many gifts that Black Americans so generously shared and continue to share this month and always. We extend our hearts today to those who are impacted by yet another government shutdown at a time when many are not recovered from the last one. And while the opposition to ICE funding may be just, the loss of income is a hardship for many. So may federal workers in the nation and in our community know that we stand with them here and afar. Last, we send our love to the people of Minneapolis as they are under siege from our own government and mourning the loss of beloved community members. May they know that they are not alone. We are not alone. We stand by them. We stand with them as we say together, no, not here. Let us open our circle as wide as we can. For those on Zoom, I invite you to share from your heart by entering in the chat. We'll be able to see your sharing in the screen, and it is shared with me and the pastoral care team. And for those who are on site today, I invite you to come forward if there's something you'd like to bring into this sanctuary, this space. You may place a stone in the water as you hold your sharing in your heart. Let's hear the heartbeat of our community as we reach out our hearts in love and care to all who share this morning. We'll place a stone in the water for all that has been shared online, shared from the heart. And one more stone placed in the water for all that we hold in our hearts and that remains unspoken this day. We hold together all that has been shared. May you feel yourself witnessed. May you know that you are loved. I invite you now to settle in wherever you are. Settle your body, perhaps quiet your mind. Little feet are always welcome in the sanctuary. I know a quiet mind can be a hard task in these chaotic and tumultuous times. There is so much right now, and I feel it with you. So breathe and know that our breath is always there for us as an anchor. Whenever our minds wander, because they do, we can return to our breath. You might put your hand on your heart or on your belly to feel your breath. You can always return your attention there too. As your body stills, I invite you to notice what you are holding in your heart today. Your joys and sorrows and everything in between. You might have many or a few, and perhaps a mix of things, for joy and grief can coexist. As you hold in your heart all that is in your life, I invite you to share some of what you are holding by speaking it into this sanctuary. You may say it out loud, from a whisper to a shout, and for those online, we'll bring your words into this sanctuary space by sharing in the chat so that those of us here can see your words. And of course, you might want to speak your words out loud too. So let's hold each other in care and love as we speak and write what is in our hearts. Together we can hold all that has been shared. From Olympia to Minneapolis, our neighbors, our community, from anger, exhaustion, and rage to love. Together, we can hold all that has been shared. We witness each other with love. Blessed be. Amen. Let's be in silence together.
Today's first reading is from Walden Pond by Henry David Thoreau. I went to the woods because I wished to live deliberately, to front only the essential facts of life, and see if I could not learn what it had to teach, and not, when I came to die, discover that I had not lived. I did not wish to live what was not life. Living is so dear. Nor did I wish to practice resignation unless it was quite necessary. I wanted to live deep and suck out the marrow of all life, to live so sturdily and Spartan-like as to put to rout all that was not life, to cut a broad swath and shave close, to drive life into a corner and reduce it to its lowest terms, and if it proved to be mean, why then to get that whole and genuine meanness of it and publish its meanness to the world? Or if it were sublime, to know it by experience and be able to give a true account of it in my next excursion.
One, the legacy of Walden Pond. Henry David Thoreau was born and raised Unitarian in Concord, Massachusetts, but left the church when he was 23 and never returned. Still, he is an important figure in our Unitarian heritage because he, along with other Transcendentalists such as Ralph Waldo Emerson and Margaret Fuller, espoused a form of direct spiritual experience that became an important part of our theological and spiritual practice as Unitarian Universalists. Thoreau's experiments in living deliberately included his most famous, which was to build a small cabin at Walden Pond and try living as simply as possible. The book, Walden Pond, is a classic in the canon of American literature, making Thoreau's impact extend far beyond the relatively small UU world. Many people, including me, have found the romantic idea of the cabin at Walden Pond very inspiring. There are a few facts that Thoreau either underemphasized or didn't mention about his life at Walden Pond, however. One was that he was being sponsored by a wealthier friend, Emerson, who let him build the cabin on land that Emerson owned. Another fact that I find takes a bit of the shine off the self-sufficiency story is that Thoreau was still getting his laundry done by his mother and often walked home for a meal as well. Now, Thoreau was living in a time of industrial revolution in America, with consequent loss of nature and traditional ways of life. Trains were carving their way through, and in New England woods that had been quiet, there was now nowhere remote enough to not hear train whistles. The nation continued to expand through land grabs and war. Indigenous people were pushed from their land, and there was still legal slavery. The Transcendentalists were deeply countercultural to their time and stood in opposition to a variety of injustices, as well as engaging in many experiments in countercultural living. And Walden Pond was one such experiment, possibly the most well-known. It is an interesting stop in any UU Boston area history pilgrimage. When I went before the Religious Education Credentialing Committee, the interviews were still being held at the historic UUA headquarters in Boston, and I was fortunate enough to also be on sabbatical. So I drove, along with my two kids, the whole way to Boston on an epic road trip and explored Concord on the way. Walden Pond is preserved, and you can walk around the pond. It's much smaller than I imagined it to be when I read the book. Thoreau is sculpturally depicted in a serious wrestling with big ideas kind of pose. The original cabin is long gone, but a replica stands and allows visitors to go inside and see how small it would have been. It truly was a tiny dwelling, making Thoreau possibly the first tiny house or van life type influencer. Thoreau and Emerson were staunchly individualists, and Thoreau is remembered as a bit of a misanthrope, so it makes sense that Thoreau's experiment would involve living alone. They both felt that transformation and self-culture were primarily personal affairs and would best be accomplished alone. This wasn't the only approach that these experimental transcendentalists took, however. Others were more focused on communal living, and there were at least 3 utopian communities that were formed. George Ripley, the founder of one of them, Brook Farm, wrote this: "Our object, as you know, are to ensure a more natural union between intellectual and manual labor than now exists, to combine the thinker and the worker, to guarantee the highest mental freedom by providing all with labor adapted to their tastes and talents, to do away the necessity of menial services by opening the benefits of education and the profits of labor to all, and thus to prepare a society of liberal, intelligent, and cultivated persons whose relations with each other would permit a more simple and wholesome life than can be led amidst the pressure of our competitive institutions." Thoreau and Emerson both visited Brook Farm, and Emerson was invited to join, but decided that being in community might not give him the freedom he needed to find himself. Brook Farm and the other experiments all eventually failed for financial reasons. And I should note that the planned division of labor to allow all to be both workers and intellectuals was not given high praise in its application by the women who lived in these communities. Apparently, the pattern of high thinking and letting someone else do your laundry wasn't just a problem for Thoreau. Now, the Transcendentalists didn't just experiment with deliberate countercultural living. Many wrestled with the larger culture and worked to shift it as well. Margaret Fuller argued for women's rights and is an important early feminist. Thoreau was an abolitionist and is rumored to have worked with the Underground Railroad and supported John Brown's failed rebellion. His best-known act of civil disobedience, however, was to refuse to pay his taxes as a protest of the government's support for slavery and role in the Mexican-American War. Now, Thoreau was not the first man in Concord to refuse to pay his poll tax. A formerly enslaved man, Brister Freeman, did not pay his poll tax for 6 years, and he was given the choice of giving up his property or going to debtor's prison. He chose to give up his land, which also meant that he was no longer eligible to attend town meetings, which were only open to property owners. Bronson Alcott, fellow Transcendentalist, also refused to pay his poll tax and was arrested. He intended to be jailed as a form of protest, but when he went to the jail, the jailer was out, and a friend paid Alcott's taxes for him before the jailer could be found. After this failed protest by Alcott, Thoreau didn't pay his poll tax for 6 years and was given 1 night in jail as a consequence. This experience was the fuel for his essay, Civil Disobedience, in which he wrote, "But if the law is of such a nature that it requires you to be the agent of injustice to another, then I say break the law. Let your life be a counter friction to stop the machine." While Thoreau's protest was fairly small, ultimately this essay would have an important influence on many others, notably Mohandas Gandhi, Leo Tolstoy, Emma Goldman, Martin Luther King Jr., and Malcolm X. Thoreau's other major lasting influence has been on the voluntary simplicity and environmentalist movements. Inspired by Walden Pond, the advocates of voluntary simplicity have taught, "Live simply so that others may simply live." And the message of living lightly on the earth has also greatly influenced the modern environmentalist movement. My own lifestyle choices have been heavily influenced by these movements. My parents were of the generation of back to the land hippies, although they never got out of Seattle onto their dream land, and so it was just a dream that permeated my childhood. I've been seeking to live some version of that simple homestead life ever since. But I've come to accept that this lifestyle is an aesthetic that may be right for me, but it's not a sufficient ethical answer to the ills of the world. Thoreau's Walden Pond is not enough. More about that in part 2.
Our second reading is from an essay titled Letting Go of Thoreau, published in Terrain.org in 2019 by Daniel Bullen. I'm not saying Thoreau is blind to the violence and inhumanity of industrial culture. He diagnoses the heart-hardening labor of men who become tools of the tools. He documents the tragedy of disappearing ecosystems. But his writing is a little too quick to swerve away from lived experiences that haunted his time and continue to haunt our national history. The desperation of natives and African slaves felt in the face of the gun barrels of extinction or the shackles and whips of subjugation. These experiences are still rippling out today. As much as Thoreau scolds America for its contradictions, he doesn't show us how to work alongside our neighbors to repair the damage in this legacy. He instead shows us how to dodge into nature to find a fount of perpetual inspiration there.
Two, moving on from Walden Pond. During Thoreau's lifetime, our nation was incredibly polarized, arguing about the rights and freedoms of Black and Brown people, about immigration and who should count as an American, about whether women should be educated and allowed a social sphere outside of the home. Fugitive slave patrols were roaming in more liberal areas and scooping people up extrajudiciously, provoking resistance as people were horrified to see neighbors seized. New technologies were putting people out of work and amassing wealth for a few, while also changing the landscape and polluting the environment. Natural habitat was being lost and species were being pushed to extinction. I wonder what it must have felt like to live in crazy times like that, right? There was great pain and much injustice. And to his credit, Thoreau felt called to protest and resist. As he wrote, he strove to make his life a counter-friction to the machine. That his personal protest actions were relatively modest is not a problem for me. We can't and shouldn't all strive to be heroes or saints, and all those small, gritty actions clog up the machine quite nicely. But a large critique I have for the path that Thoreau laid out for us is that he, as well as Emerson, strove to avoid pain and gave us a roadmap full of spiritual bypass, pietism, and individualism. These three pitfalls remain major challenges for white liberals, particularly the white environmentalist movement. So let me explain these pitfalls. Spiritual bypass is a concept explained by John Welwood, a psychotherapist and Buddhist teacher in the 1980s. He noticed that some would use their spiritual practices or faith beliefs to avoid pain, leading them to deny aspects of their identity or their needs, and in turn stall their emotional growth and development. Spiritual bypass is using spirituality to avoid or repress messy emotions rather than doing the harder healing work. It isn't a problem to turn to spirituality and faith as a short-term medicine for pain, but it is a problem to use it as a long-term avoidance or negation of pain. Now, Thoreau clearly has a lot of pain and anger in his relationship with the society in which he was born. But rather than show us a path toward healing the wounds of racism, colonialism, militarism, and capitalism, he shows us a path of retreat and avoidance. He went to the woods and avoided the pain and treats nature as a spiritual value that is higher than the mess of being human. The second pitfall I'm calling pietism, but I don't mean the 17th century Lutheran Reform movement specifically. Rather, it's the emphasis that pietists place on individual piety shown through living a virtuous life. What I mean by pietism is an overemphasis on personal, individual actions as being good or ethical. The emphasis on personal carbon footprints is an example of pietism in modern times. Thoreau criticized the industrialization of his time, particularly symbolized by trains, and he emphasized in his writing that he withdrew from this new lifestyle. He prided himself on living simply rather than needing money that would come from this corrupt economy. And he wrote in great detail of each of his personal choices and why they were ethically and morally superior. But he failed to show how this might work for a family, much less for a whole society. And the third pitfall is individualism. Individualism prioritizes personal freedom and self-reliance over community and relationship. Our culture, in fact, all of so-called Western culture, as it has been built primarily by white men, is an individualistic culture. The critiques of individualism are many, but I sum them up as nice if that works for you, dude, but most of us need each other. Individualism only works as long as you are enjoying certain levels of privilege, you're not targeted or marginalized, and you are relatively healthy and able-bodied. And individualism is less effective at pushing back on injustice or creating social change. We've already heard the many, many examples of how Thoreau advocated for individualism. So what are the antidotes to these pitfalls we've inherited from our culture, our tradition, and spiritual ancestors like Thoreau? How can we move on from Walden Pond? We've been talking about these antidotes a lot this year, drawing on the work of Joanna Macy and the book Active Hope. And we have an ongoing discussion group on second Thursdays that you can join at any time if you want to explore these ideas with others. Macy describes the work that reconnects as a spiral that is rooted in gratitude, then moves to honoring the pain, then seeing with new eyes, and then going forth. And this spiral repeats over and over again. So let me begin with great gratitude for Thoreau and for the teachings of simplicity and civil disobedience. His work is part of why I am the person I am today, and part of why this congregation is what it is today. These roots are strong, even as they are imperfect. Roots are never perfect. We don't need perfection to feel gratitude for what is. Then let's move to honoring the pain. In the book Active Hope, it is described this way. The Vietnamese Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh was once asked what we need to do to save our world. What we most need to do, he replied, is to hear within us the sound of the earth crying. We feel distress when other beings suffer because at a deep level, we are not separate from them. The isolation that splits us from the living body of our world is an illusion. The pain breaks through to tell us who we really are. So we're not honoring only our individual pain, although that is also important to hold and not avoid. we're also honoring the pain that we feel because of our empathy and connection to the rest of the world. Pain is hard work, and this will be the subject of our forum at 12:15 today. So come to that if you want more about how to hold pain. The next step in this spiral, another antidote to the pitfalls of spiritual bypass, pietism, and individualism, is to see with new eyes. That's a metaphorical phrase for being open to change, to growth, to new learning, and ultimately to personal and communal transformation. Much of the change and transformation that our culture needs is an honest reckoning and true healing work around the wounds that were foundational to the building of this nation. Daniel Bullen, author of our second reading, puts it this way. Ages have come and gone, and the injuries still have not been righted. Every day, every suffering heart prays to hear the elemental words that will allow the people to live with other people and the earth as family again. Every morning, the sky softens over the oceans and soil in which natives were murdered, the oceans and soil in which African captives and slaves lost their lives for American profits, the ditches and public squares where workers' protests ended in violence and murder. The land itself grieves that its people are at war with the earth and with each other. Every night, the sun goes down and the wounds are not closed by rituals of reconciliation or healing. No individual fulfillment can be complete on this inherited ground. It has to be cleansed before new seeds of heroes can grow here. End quote. It's notable to me that some of the first things that this current regime did when it came to power were to attack the diversity, equity, and inclusion programs that were doing this important healing work and the teaching of this real history. If we are to live with one another and the earth as family, learning, healing, and transforming need to be a cultural priority. Another important transformation that we need to engage with at this step of seeing with new eyes is the shift from individual pietism that focuses on personal choice and virtue toward communal thinking that looks at systems and systems change. This is another difficult shift for many of us who have been soaked in individualism for so long. But we need to get better at seeing the big picture of the system that we live inside. And then the final step is to go forth. Retreating, finding our own version of Walden Pond is fine some of the time. We all need sanctuaries. But we won't change the larger world from inside our sanctuaries. We have to go forth on a regular basis. Daniel Bullen writes, but if our connection to nature is ever going to teach us to protect the world from the saws and drilling rigs, we need to leave Thoreau in the woods and return to society ourselves. We have to engage with the struggle to build something better, to bend the arc toward justice, and to save what can be saved. We don't have to be heroes. This isn't an individualistic struggle, and there's a role for everyone. The UU Common Read for 2026 is Social Change Now by Deepa Iyer. This book explores the social change ecosystem map that she has developed and all the roles one might play based on your particular personality and skills. The roles are weavers, experimenters, frontline responders, visionaries, builders, caregivers, disruptors, healers, storytellers, and guides. I've tried to place myself in a role, including taking a just for fun online quiz that someone developed based on this model. And I am most a caregiver, but I am also a storyteller, a guide, and a weaver. So one does not have to choose a single role in this ecosystem. This is only one model, although I find it a very helpful model. I'll be leading a workshop on March 14th to explore this work together if you're interested in going deeper with this model. For today, the most important thing about this model is the word ecosystem. We are all part of an interconnected, larger system of society and making social change. So there is a role for everyone. As you go forth, take the actions that are right for you, and also support the work of others who are doing work different from yours. My dear ones, these times are exhausting. The regime is scary. Our attention is caught in a for-profit outrage doom scroll. I'd like to huddle down in my own little version of Walden Pond, and that's okay for a bit. We all need sanctuaries. We are in such a sanctuary right now, whether on-site or virtual. But let us use our sanctuaries as places for doing the work that reconnects rather than isolating ourselves. Let's ground ourselves in gratitude. In fact, right now, let's take a breath and bring to mind at least one thing that you are grateful for. And let us honor the pain. If you like, place your hand on your heart and just notice the pain you're feeling. Just notice and let it be. And then let's engage in changing and learning. Pause and bring to mind a question or a new idea that you're taking away from today. And finally, we'll be going forth into our week ahead. What will you do in the world this week? Let us rest in silence together for a moment.
I invite you again to rise in body and our spirit, and let's sing out of the great hymnal, hymn number 315, This Old World.
Yeah.
as we prepare to go back into the world that so badly needs our presence and our love, may we carry with us the words of Craig Rowland. May the warmth and light of our chalice remain with us, guiding our hearts and our steps. Let us carry forward the strength of this community, the courage to speak truth, and the hope that transformation is possible. In each breath we take, may we remember that the work of love, justice, and healing is ours to continue, both here and beyond these walls. Go in peace with the light of this gathering to illuminate your way. May you go with joy, go with commitment, go with love.